I'll call the September 5th Finance Committee meeting to order for 6 p.m. Roll call, please.
Member Downs?
Here.
Member Bollier?
Here.
Member Bellows?
Present.
Member Camary?
Here.
Member Kusumano?
Here.
Member Harrington? Here. Member McGowan? Here.
All right, I will make a motion, any motions to approve the minutes from the previous meeting on August 1st.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Mayor, second by Mr. Kusumano. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item is general business, item C, administration.
Turn it over to our new finance director, Adriana. If you have any questions, she just started with us on Tuesday, so we did have our finance division print these out, and we separated each of them for hopefully for ease of viewing.
Cut her a little bit of slack. this
We're gonna
year.
cut a little bit of slack. Yeah.
Do you hear that, Mr. Boyer?
You already got his hand
Yeah.
out.
Mr. Boyer.
If you know the answer tonight, it's fine. But for the next meeting, it'd be good is comparative to our expenses at the same period last year, are we at the same level, or are we above or below?
Okay, so I don't have that information.
And that's fine, but I know we have like, right now it's 27.7% of our general fund has been expended. However, when you look at the same period last year, are we more or less? Which, then what is the reason why? It could be staffing, it could be what cost of supplies, whatever it is, just be good to have a good summary when you look at that, that's all.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Member Bollier, is that something you would like every month also?
Just if you're giving a state of the union of that moment every month, the financial, it'd be good to say, this is where we are, it's a good summary.
Okay.
Mr. Camille?
Yeah, that's what I have, yeah. So, what I've prepared, may I?
Yeah, go ahead.
What I've started just working on this week is really familiarizing myself a little bit with the budget and where we currently stand. I do intend to, I've produced it for myself, prepare a financial snapshot, which kind of summarizes all of the drill downs on these into one worksheet. And so I do have a year-to-date versus budget year-to-date, encumbered, and what % of budget has been met versus what % of fiscal year that we're at. And it's kind of sort of financial summary. So what I'll do is I'll also add a year-over-year comparison for that as well.
Thank you. Mr. Camille?
Just since we get the revenue thing up, I know that you're getting started and whatnot, and like, getting with the city finance director probably, like the host community, I'm looking, this one stares me and hits me every time I look at it. Host community revenue source is one that's going to be maybe being cut down the road here in the not so distant future, or lessened, right? That those are monies from waste management. The waste management pays with the city. So when we start looking at revenues for future references, those are things that are good, you know, between state revenues, there's a local revenue that's gonna be taking a hit in the not so distant future, along with others, but that's a big one that is kinda unique to Rochester. So, while we're looking at that page.
Yeah, certainly, you know, I mean, I would love to be able to give you an explanation of why we have some areas of zero revenue year-to-date, but I simply don't know the answers to that.
No, and some of this, like the host community, the background of that is probably with the city finance director and that sort of thing. That one, every time I see that number, or the host community, that's a waste management pilot. Basically, they payment in lieu of taxes, they pay to the city of Rochester. Sandy, you've been, back in the council days, yeah.
Mrs. Harrington?
Yeah, to his point, the host fees, the sunset's probably gonna be around 2035. You probably won't see those fees anytime after that.
So,
Just for planning.
$900,000.
Any other questions for the school, on the school We'll move on to school expenditure. Any questions on the school expenditures? On the board, any questions on that? About the federal grant expenses, any questions about the federal grant expenses that has been presented to us? Any questions on that? No? Alrighty, next item is the federal grant revenue. Any questions on the federal grant revenue? Next item is the fresh fruit and vegetable. Any questions on the fresh fruit and vegetable? Mr. Beaulieu.
I guess my question is, it's a zero expense, but it says 100% expended to get.
So we have our year-to-date expense is $13 and budgeted zero is all I can say.
So we're
So
over budget.
I would assume that that $13 it was payroll actually, so there might be someone's salary is partially allocated to that, but I don't know the answer to that, but
Yeah,
that
I think
$12.80.
it should be a line item,
Yeah,
something.
it is, it's salaries, so it seems like $13 of some sort of salary, which I'm not certain, I can find that out for you.
Any other questions on fresh fruit and vegetable? I did have a question, something you're gonna have to look into. So last year, we were donated, was it 500 per elementary school for lunches? And I think it kind of went, I forgot about it. Yeah, by the trustees, and we're just, I'm curious where this school divvied up those to help the people over balanced. Because I think that's what it's for, to help people pay off some of their, so we can get that update
Sure.
next meeting. It was, I can look through my email and forward you the email.
I remember.
Okay, just so you can
So
look
how
for it a
much
little
of that
quicker.
is spent? And-
Well, no, where it was divvied up. So they gave us, I believe it was $500 per school,
Okay.
and just how they were gonna divvy it up on,
For the grade schools.
yeah, for the grade schools, how it was divvied up.
Do we have an accounting of, does she have the numbers for how much the balance was in each school?
Well, I'm sure she can look that up. Yeah, I'm sure she can look into that.
Right, well, I'm just, you're asking on one side of the ledger, but not the other side, so.
No, but I'm sure she can look into that.
I'll find out the whole story.
Awesome, thank you. Mr. White.
If I remember correctly, the conversation we had with them was that we have the permission to be able to divvy it up per school the way it was needed, not
Yes.
necessarily just 500 to each individual school.
Yeah.
So if you're looking into it, you see 200 in one school and 700.
It may have been just to cover the balances
Right.
based on the distribution.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. All right, any other questions on that one? All right, we'll move on to school CIP. Any questions on school CIP? Seeing none, we'll move on to school board cover report.
I believe we did discuss the matter during personnel as well. My understanding was, the cover report was the discussion on the paraeducators.
Is that all?
So that is our projected September surplus. I know that the board had requested September projection, which is the next line.
Right.
Yeah, so that's
Okay.
that's just a backup of our
Okay.
current unfilled positions, and if you notice, we have divided them by 10. So that is a surplus for the month of September. And then there's backup as far as how we would intend to use it, and then what the plan is for the remainder of the money.
All right, that was my vote for the next.
Mr. Lloyd?
So, since we're on to that $200,000 surplus, in our budget for this year, that surplus in staffing was to offset the, even though we brought a tax cap compliant budget, our budget is over. So we need, I think, approximately $600,000. So I know you have it earmarked at $200,000, but technically You don't have $200,000.
That's already been taken out. So there was we had an 11% vacancy factor that we factored in, and so that was removed from the $200,000 projection.
So we've already had that $600,000.
That has been set aside. So the $200,000 does not account for it. We've set that up.
Is separate from,
Yes.
thank you.
Any more questions on that? So did we just go over this, that was just projections? Or we just, is that what you're,
Yes.
Right, correct.
now on to the backup? Yes.
So if you notice the $200,000 surplus in the month of September, they are due to the vacancies, not counting the 11% vacancy that the budget was developed with. And so currently, we have earmarked the graduation stage at Spalding High School. As we know, we need a new one to not accommodate for all the people on the stage, so we'll put an order on that, and that's roughly $50,000. And the other part is that we want to make sure that we have a smooth and effective transition coming from the person that was working in Ms. Comp's position for a number of weeks. We want a smooth transition, so she's still on board with us, so that we can transition the role and responsibilities to Adriana. So that is the other fee that we've earmarked for that. She'll remain with us for another 4 weeks or so. And then the other portion of it, so that'll amount, let's say, to, let's say $75,000. So the other $125,000, Cabinet will be meeting to discuss how we optimize those funds. And of course, principals will have input.
Any questions? Mr. Bell?
Thank you, sir. I suspect that, because you're fiscally responsible, that this wouldn't be the case. But in terms of the graduation stage, and others might feel differently here, but I would definitely be interested in knowing what the expected lifespan of that stage is. I can't imagine this would be the case, but if we're gonna spend $50,000 on a stage so that school board members and a few other people can be up on the stage, and the stage only lasts 10 years, are we really willing to spend $5,000 a year so that we can all sit at graduation? And I'm just making those numbers up to kind of make them extreme, but if it can be used in other contexts, if we can find other uses for it, then that certainly justifies the cost. I think you understand what I'm saying. Thank you.
Mr. Griswold?
I'd also look at possibly keeping that money aside for a little bit while to make sure that all our expenses are covered, and then if not, allocating it. We just sat through a whole assessment of three or four schools that need a whole electrical upgrades. 125,000, they'll go a long ways with that. You also have a playground that we've talked about several times at the Reach Center that's about that ballpark.
Ms. Hannigan?
Just a check, I know that with the state, there's state reporting that needs to be submitted, I think it's around this time. Are we good with meeting our deadlines for reporting?
Mr. Chair. Yes, we have actually asked for an extension, so our extension is for now November 1st.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions under that? So next item 3, approval of the grant. Under the backup. Yes.
Oh, sure. We are pleased to inform you that we have received a $9,300 grant from Crochet Mountain Foundation. We will be following up with this in regards to complying with their parameters for reporting, and any funds at the end of this period will be returned to CMF upon completion of the report, which will be June 30th. We have not received what that information, the information they will be requesting for us yet, but they will provide it to us 8 weeks prior to the report.
Any questions on that? Mr. Boyd?
Looking for a motion to bring them. So I make a motion to accept the $9,300 from the Crotchet Mountain Foundation.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Boyer, second by Mr. Mary. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Moving on to the repurposed paraeducated positions to administrative assistant. Mr. Guzman.
I just want to make sure that, for the record, it's for the REACH program, not just for the whole
It's
district.
right in there. Yeah. So So we're on to repurpose paraeducator positions to administrative assistant positions. Speak on this.
So this is just, we're taking the funding source, we had discussed it during personnel committee. Cost neutral solution, we are just transferring the funds from the unfilled para positions to the free administrative assistant position, line item.
Any questions? I know a few of us received an email from a para in the district that was concerned about this. Have we made sure that we discussed this with the para educators and made sure that we're open about why we're doing this?
Yeah, so during personnel, we talked about having currently 35 unfilled positions. There are 12 of those positions that are not needing to be in compliance. So what we talk about is we refer to them as pocket positions. So they're put in the pocket. If we were to receive a new enrollment of a child who has a one-on-one, we would take that position out of the pocket and utilize it. So what I'm suggesting is that we take those 12 that are in the pocket that we do not need for compliance purposes, that we take 4 of those and repurpose them for administrative positions.
Mr. Guzman?
So that would leave us with 8, correct?
Correct.
And that would also leave us with extra pairs for covering for sick, time out for children that need, so we're not going without taking care of their IEPs, correct?
Correct. Do you mean if, well,
Like if
we
a
currently,
parent calls out and they have a one-on-one, we have somebody that's gonna cover, we're not,
we must, but we have to go through subs. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
each building has
that's-
a building sub,
Yep.
so that would be the first person that would
Okay.
cover that.
I just wanna make sure we have somebody
Yes.
that's always able to be there before we reallocate positions.
Yes.
Ms. Camille?
But just to be clear, these are not people being moved, these are positions being moved, just for clarity. So they're unfilled positions. So we're saying we're taking 4 out of the para pool
Right.
and putting 3 in the administrative pool. Again, it's not, we're not losing people, we're not moving people, just positions, just for, get everybody on the same page. And we're still have, how many unfilled para positions?
Oh, we have 31 unfilled.
31 unfilled para positions in the district that are out there being solicited to be filled, you know, for those cases where we need to backfill or whatnot. So,
Exactly.
Mr. Lawyer?
So in this case, we need a motion in order to transfer from one line item of the para pay to the admin assistant pay, right?
Yes.
Or is it all one?
It's all one CBA.
So we don't have to do it?
Not the CBA, but they're in different line items.
They are different,
They're different line
pay
items.
lines, yes, but there's a same CBA.
So if it's different line items,
We can make the budget transfer.
you can make a transfer, we're not making anything, yes.
Correct.
So we don't have to do a motion.
Just wanna verify that.
Already, any more questions under that? We'll move on to public comment. No public, we'll close public comment, move on to other, anything under other? Nothing under other. Any non-public? No non-public? We want to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Mr. Mary, second by Ms. Harrington. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?